Hello and welcome to the Darren Smith Photography tutorials. This video is how the shutter speed of your camera affects your images. The shutter speed is a measure of how long the shutter remains open when the picture is taken. Another name of this is the exposure time. Traditionally, a set of thin lightweight shutters that normally block the light from the media is moved away temporarily to allow the correct exposure to be made. With modern technology such as the use of mirrorless cameras, mobile phones and live view, there may not always be a shutter. However, when the sensor is recording your image, it is known as the shutter speed. A shutter speed can play a major role in the creativity of your photograph and is not always about being precise. Slowing the shutter speed can give the appearance of motion blur, representing speed and movement in your image. Speeding up the shutter can freeze a fast moving object to make it look as if time has stopped. When photographing the same scene, a slow shutter speed will let more light into your sensor compared to a faster shutter speed. So, if you are changing your shutter speed, you may also need to adjust your aperture and your ISO settings to achieve your desired results. Otherwise, your photograph may not be exposed correctly. A little practice goes a long way to get the desired results. The shutter speed of your camera is based on a scale that allows one stop of light between each setting. I do hope this is obvious. A shutter speed of 1/60th of a second will allow half as much light as 1/30th of a second, as it is exactly half the amount of time. On your camera, there is often an extra setting on the camera shutter speed dial, called the bulb or B setting. This is used to set an exposure time of over 30 seconds. This allows the shutter to remain open for as long as the release button is held down. This is very useful for night photography or astrophotography, as they require long shutter speeds to allow correct exposure. If you choose to use this setting, you need to consider the factors such as the aperture, how to make sure your camera does not move, and any movement of the object you are photographing. If you are taking photographs with a standard range lens, then a shutter speed of 1/60th of a second or faster, then it is okay for you to hand hold your camera. It is generally useful to consider the focal length to get the most appropriate shutter speed. The general advice is, your shutter speed should be 1 divided by the maximum focal length of your camera. So if you have a 300mm lens, you should have at least 1/300th of a second shutter speed. Modern lenses and cameras are also equipped with some form of vibration compensation, which prevent camera shake, allowing more accurate photographs at slower shutter speeds. Personally, even with this technology, I always will use a tripod if my shutter speed goes below 1/40th of a second. One serious bit of advice though about using vibration compensation is that you should always turn it off when securing your camera to a tripod or other fixed surface. If you are using slow shutter speeds, in other words longer than 1/40th of a second, then you should be thinking about using a tripod or something else to make sure your camera does not move. A good tripod will secure your camera and allow you to change your settings easily. When travelling, I will sometimes use a small beanbag to secure my camera, especially if I cannot use my tripod. Alternatively, I could use a bag of rice. You will also need to minimize vibration when you press the shutter, so I recommend you make use of a remote shutter release to prevent your camera from moving. This can be done using a cable, a remote control, or with modern cameras via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi with a smartphone app. Your camera probably has a timer too. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. Please feel free to check out more at darrensmith.org.uk or on YouTube, Twitter or Facebook. Thank you for watching.